Good morning, my friends. It is morning for us here in the East Coast. Welcome to West Coast. Oh my God, I'm on the West Coast. What am I saying? I can't even talk. I'm done. The podcast is over, guys. Sorry. I know I invited you here, but I can't even do it. Oh my God. I don't even know what coast I'm on. Welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast, my friends. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian. I can't even talk. I'm breaking. And joining me, as always, is your co-host, Spaz.
As always, powered by not enough caffeine.
No, I just had a Starbucks double shot, and it's not enough. I think my wife's going to make coffee when she gets up. Thank God. Folks, we're up early in our morning because we have some guests joining us from Convoy Games in the Netherlands. 2D artist, designer, and co-founder Roy Hornstra.
Good morning.
And designer, scripter, business, and co-founder Sander de Visser.
Yes, good morning.
Oh, that was a lot. Okay, folks, we're here to talk about the finally out of early access space and walking game because it is kind of two games in one. It really is. Landinar. I can't talk. Landinar into the void.
Time. I saw your stream yesterday.
Yeah, it's tough. My brain keeps wanting to say Lambdamar, and I have to correct it at the last second. I don't know why. It's one of those things.
Or we'll change it.
Just change it. Just change it to Lambda.
Yeah, just change it.
Even though that's a word. Even though that's a much worse word. That just sounds worse than Landinar. Just a rougher word.
Well, most have to retcon like Convoy. Whatever. Yeah.
Right.
No problem.
Same universe.
Sort of. Yeah.
Welcome to the Landinar system. Anyway, welcome back, guys. We had you on about a year ago to talk about this game, which was in early. I think it was August of April. Yeah. It was August of last year, I think. And that was. That could be, yeah. Gotta say you guys had. I want to start off with this. You guys had a relatively concise and straightforward and very busy early access period on Steam. Like there were a lot of updates. Your community seemed very busy. And I would just like to talk before we get into the game itself. I'd just like to ask, how did early access go for you guys on Steam?
So we launched in early access in September, I believe. And for us, the idea was, because we're like a super small team, we're basically 4 people working on this thing. We worked on it for, I think, about 3 years before we went into early access. And when we launched in early access, we're like, okay, we got sort of the base game sort of thing done. We know what we're going to make. We just need to sort of figure some last things out and do the whole story campaign thing that we had in our minds. And so during early access, that's pretty much the main thing we worked on. We did some, tweaks of the UI and the combat and like movement mechanics and some flight mechanics stuff, but most of the core mechanics haven't really changed since we launched into early access. We just added basically the whole story content to the game and actually making the game being a game you can finish from start to finish.
Which has an ending.
Yeah, it has an ending. Yeah, and you can play it and you can complete it.
Do you have are you bothered by the planes flying by the way? Do you
I don't know if they can hear that.
Okay. Yeah.
We're like right next to the Air Force base. So
I can't hear a thing.
Russia comes and
nice.
decides to take a look. We send in airplanes.
Oh jeez.
Whatever, I don't know.
Oh no.
Nah, it's not really that bad. It's just I don't know. They're just flying around for whatever. Yeah. It's cool though. We can watch all the cool planes. We had a I don't know. This is totally off topic, but we had the training exercise like a few weeks ago with like American planes and French planes.
Oh, that's cool.
Everybody just came over, and there was just like
that is so
right
cool.
Outside the window.
Yeah, yeah. We up here, down here in Southern California, we're not far from a couple of Air Force bases, and whenever we drive down to San Diego, sometimes we'll see like Apache helicopters flying around or A-10 warthogs flying around doing exercises.
So cool.
Oh, I love those. Those are my favorites. The A10. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, the A10 is like the best thing.
Oh my god. I love the A10.
Let's talk about A10s. Can we do that?
I can do that. There's a
I don't think
podcast.
I've ever actually seen one.
Oh, there's a podcast that talks about military aircraft. What the heck's its name? It's really great, actually. I just subscribed to it recently. The Fighter Pilot Podcast. It's called.
I'm gonna look this up right now.
And they do a lot of varied shows, but the first one I listened to was their show on the A10, and it was just marvelous. Just marvelous to listen to. They talked to a pilot, and they talked to a lot, and they did a lot, delved into the history and everything, and why the Air Force keeps wanting to shut it down. But I didn't know this, but good news, the Air Force said we're going to keep it till at least 2030. So yay!
Like it's gonna take.
I thought all the funding was taken away and that they're going to use the F-35s for everything.
No, they kept threatening that, but then they realized, there is no other aircraft that can do exactly what the A-10 does, the guys on the ground need it. They need that close air support. So,
gotta have it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, the pilot they had on that podcast, they had a saying on the door of like their flight room, and it was like it's always about the 18-year-old with the gun on the ground. I'm like, that's great.
That's pretty cool.
That's great. Anyway, welcome back to the A10. Welcome back to the A10 podcast, everyone, where we talk solely about the A10
pilots and all the podcasts.
That's perfect.
We definitely go on tangents here. But anyway, so when did you guys start? Remind me, when did you guys start working on Landinar? Was it a few years ago?
It was actually the end after
2015.
we released Convoy. That was in 2015, so it was the fall of 2015, I believe.
Summer, fall, something like that. Yeah.
And at first, it was a totally different game. The walking around that you just described actually is still from that game. It was a heisting game where you were playing as a kind of a cyber mercenary kind of guy, a hacking cyberpunk cool hacking guy.
Yeah.
And then we thought, oh my god, our team is only 4 people. We'll need to make a lot of buildings and alleys and stuff like that. Maybe we can do less
something
work if we just let the buildings fly around a bit, and we'll have to make less of the world, and we'll put in a nice skybox and do it that way. And then this whole thing happened.
That has to be one of the appeals to making space games, is you don't have to make a ground, you don't have to make cities.
It's a dangerous trap to step in, I think, and that's the trap we sort of stepped in ourselves, because you think, hey, we don't actually have to make anything, like buildings and stuff, and then suddenly you're like, okay,
everything.
How about space stations? And then that's actually like kind of like a city, or like a like a small level from some other game. And so we made a bunch of tools to create stations, and that actually went reasonably well. I think it's pretty quick to build stations with the systems that we have, but then since we only have one 3D artist, he's just he's got to make everything, like wall pieces or all the like the furniture and all the, and you want to have some variety in things, because otherwise there's going to be copy pasted rooms and that's going to be boring. So it's I mean, it's quick to make once you have all the stuff. Sort of like when you have all the building blocks, it's pretty easy to make something cool. It's like Legos, but you have to get all the pieces first, and that's a thing we sort of maybe somewhat underestimated how much time it would take, because we've been working on this for very long. But
and the other thing is, of course, because it started out as a different game, and we are making a space game right now, there is this expectation that players have of space games. So
when will there be mining?
Yeah, I think we get a lot in our Discord is when will there be mining? Because in every space game you can shoot in an asteroid and it'll drop some nice junk or something, and then you can sell it at some.
That is not true. I mean, there are a lot of space games that do not have.
But in our game, you play as or an overstatement. I mean, but in our game you play as a bounty hunter, so we didn't. Do anything like that. But
I mean, the game doesn't really have much in the way of trading or mining, because that's not what you do. You're a bounty hunter. I mean, basically the trading is, oh look, I found some loot. I'm going to fill my cargo with it and then sell it. That's pretty much the trading. Because you're not a trader.
You can still do it, but it's just not a fun game because we didn't make it about that.
Exactly.
So there is players who found out what the best cargo is to haul and to haul it from where to where. Because there is a trading thing, but it's just not a fun game. I mean, I always feel like, well, there's this whole story. Don't you want to check that out? But I guess everyone has his own.
Some people, games I think like Skyrim and even to a lesser extent Freelancer have spoiled us with the fact that, there's a story over there. I don't have to touch it or do anything with it. You know, it's over there. It can wait for me. But this is a little more story focused. I mean, you have side missions to.
There are a lot of side missions.
There are a lot of side missions, but I mean, the focus is dealing with what's that main faction you're going to join? I can't remember the name.
Yeah, so you join the Landinar Empire first, and then you get. Well, you don't know. Wait, I'm explaining it wrong. So they're
you're joining the Stone Eye Children.
Yeah, you're joining the Stone Eye Children.
Thank you. That's the one I was trying to remember.
Faction.
But
they're doing jobs for the Empire. So
right. That's the one I was trying to remember. How many factions are in the game? Remind me. There are a few at least, right? There's
there's a few. You have the traders, the KGL Trading Company. You have another bounty hunter faction that's called the Rising Ashes, which you have some interaction with down the line. There is the Imperials, and there's
Katan Navy, which is mostly just a reference. It's not really like a faction that you can join or anything. Like you can.
There's some miners and some
the Camrock mining corporation.
Guys, some science station vessels, but they're more what some
they're all sort of like they're mostly NPCs really. Like it's not like
we don't have the freelancer system where you can really get a standing with them.
No.
Right. That's fair. Really, that's a whole another kettle of fish. That's a whole other layer Now, you brought up hacking earlier, which is kind of funny because I didn't know there was hacking in this game until I disabled a ship and the little pop-up came up. It's like, board that ship. And so...
Yeah, that's new since the early access. Yeah.
But a funny thing about that, first off, I forgot I had a fire extinguisher and ran into the fire and died. So I forgot. So that was a really clear reminder that, hey, by the way, you have a fire extinguisher. But also, I forgot when I started doing the hacking, I forgot there was a time limit, and then the ship blew up.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty unforgiving.
It's. I thought it was. I laughed. You'll see on the video. I laughed. I thought it was like, I forgot about the damn. It was funny. Yeah. So hacking did make its way into the game. It's just
in the end,
which is pretty cool.
It took a little while, but we made it. A lot of people asked for hacking, or at least like boarding mechanics. And then, of course, when you think of boarding and you see all these guards with machine guns walking around, you're like, I want to have a machine gun.
We're going to fight all the guys.
Yeah, we did a sort of tech test of that way long ago, and it didn't really work so well, so we sort of scrapped that.
Because you're fighting in really small rooms with
there's like hardly there's really nowhere to take cover, right? Or anything.
Either shooting down a hallway or you're swacking someone over the head with like a.
We had these pre-made models we used just testing, and we had like this giant axe, I think, like this massive two-handed anime style cleaver.
Like a First World War trench warfare thing, like where you're just running at someone and just bashing their head in.
I mean, then that could be definitely a fun game, but it's not really the game we were making. And that would be another layer of stuff we would have to do. So we just sort of scrap that.
It's kind of funny.
Like, let's finish this one first, and then we'll see.
Well, it's kind of funny because you guys are giving people what they always say they want. They want to walk around in their ships. They want to walk around stations, and this game lets you do that. And one thing I really like is that it all exists in the same world. Like when you're playing a game like, I don't know if you've seen Wayward Terran Frontier, it's kind of similar in that you run around as a little guy and you can jump in your ship and then you take your ship. But when you zoom in with your game, you can actually see like the inside of the ship. You can see your little guy. It's all in the same. It's all like the same seamless, thing.
How do you say it? Like this? It's a seamless
layer, same layer,
transition or whatever.
Yeah. It's like all there. It's all. It's all available for them. Where it's like with another game, it's like once you're in the ship, it's like that's gone. Like the inside, like that's all gone. So it's really fascinating that you've been able to kind of merge all this together seamlessly. And so, like when you're shooting at another ship, you can see that you're damaging their rooms because ships are made up of individual rooms. Which is a neat concept. Like I've not really seen other games where they talk about ships as individual rooms. It's like here's the hull, add a room. Whereas
we sort of took that from I think like FTL mostly. Yeah. I mean that's a totally different type of game, but it's
right.
It has the
same. Like if you shoot the engine room, then they stop moving.
Right, but with your game and it's ship designer, that room doesn't have to be an engine room. That room can be
you're totally free to do whatever you want.
Yeah, which is really neat and also in some ways very limiting. Like I got the what's the ship that looks like a tuning fork? I can't remember. It's like got the
I don't remember.
There are so many ships.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've got like 5-6 blueprints so far, and I want all of them. But that's the one I've been flying around lately, and it like.
Oh, you mean the one you got from the? Yeah, that's that's what's the name?
I can't remember the name. But I tried to put 2 engines on it, but for some reason that didn't work. So I was flying around with like 1 engine on like the side.
I think you can put 2 engines if you put them like on the front side, sort of on the outside front. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, it wasn't letting me. It wasn't letting me make it symmetrical, so I just put 1 engine on, and that was fine.
That works.
I have to admit, though, I was really thrown by some of the ship design stuff. Like, I didn't realize that I think it was 1 engine doesn't let you turn. Like, the engine you start with gives you... Yes. The 1 engine gives you turning ability, and I didn't know that it was all in, like, a one-and-done unit. I didn't realize that if you wanted an ion engine, you'd have to buy other thrusters. So I launched with an... You'll see it in the video. I launched with an ion engine, and then I go forward. I'm like, wait, why aren't I turning? Why aren't I turning? Oh, I didn't read that right. Oh, no. I didn't...
Yeah, it's a little bit unforgiving and sometimes, like... unexplaining of certain features. I think that's...
Now, is that intentional? Because I found that there were some things that...
Really,
we're trying to be accommodating. It's just at one point, because we're working on this for so long, and because we're only a small 4-man team, our Q&A department is also, our quality assurance department, is also non-existent almost. So the time when we find bugs is often the time when people are reporting it on our Discord or on our Steam pages.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, that iron thing that happened to one other guy, I believe. Were you able to turn it a little bit or not at all?
No, I didn't. I had to reload a save because I wasn't able to turn it all. Yeah. I left the station and then just kind of coasted into an asteroid. I'm like, oh. Okay. Well then,
we did make a small change in like giving even the ion engines like a tiny little bit of
rotation so that you can dock again, because that is the
so you can at least recover from your like, oh, okay, I need to actually put something
up.
Yeah. If I could move to the side, it was so minute I didn't even realize.
Yeah, I think then it wasn't like the last update we did. I think I don't know.
But there was also another thing I discovered through trial and error. I didn't know you could set waypoints on space stations. I did not know that
you can.
Until I accidentally right clicked. I'm like, it said set waypoint. I'm like, I could do that this whole time. I've just been running around randomly, hoping to find that one right trader.
Yeah, well, we didn't want to put a whole book in front of the player, so that's why
fair. I mean, I'm not complaining. It's just,
I just want to explain. Yeah,
right. It's just there's so much hand holding in gaming these days that it was a little bit surprising, and I'm not saying in a bad way. It didn't really detract from my enjoyment. It was just like, oh, Like that's there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can understand why people get thrown though, because it is sometimes, for example, you earlier in the video, you suddenly were drifting, and it's because the stabilizers were off, and you probably pressed the key by accident. But that will happen to people sometimes, and then I can imagine that. It will.
If you don't know,
you don't know why you're drifting all of a sudden, like it's Tokyo or something. And, yeah.
Nice.
So nice. I can imagine, and then when you press docking, it automatically turns it on again. Or when you there's a lot of keys that do a lot of double things as well, so to help the player. But yeah, we didn't want to explain everything in dialogues, and we're hoping that our players are intelligent enough to just kind of figure things out as well. I mean, there's a lot of tooltips for everything, so
when the tooltips work.
Yeah, I saw there was Q and A instead of Q and E for rotating objects, so I'm putting that down as well.
Yep. I mean, and then because I'm watching the stream right now, and you just deleted your door, and you're about to find out right now.
Yeah, that was. I don't even know how I did that. I thought it was funny that I could do that. I
saw it happen. Like you right-clicked on it when you hovered over. Maybe I don't know.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't even know how I did it, and I just thought it was funny. It wasn't like a big deal. I mean, I kind of like how the game lets you do that. Like, oh, look, there's no door there. I can't get to my bridge. Yeah. That's funny.
I think that's one of the biggest things we learned from. Well, not necessarily from the early access, but from the release in the last week, is that a lot of people sort of get thrown off by stuff like that, and then they're immediately going like, "Oh, I did this thing," or at least they don't realize they did a thing, and then they're thinking like, "The game did this to me, and now I feel frustrated, and I don't know what I did, and I don't know how to fix it, and I'm leaving a bad review and getting a refund." That's sort of the whole sort of hand-holding things you get from modern games is something we sort of underestimated ourselves, maybe as well. It's I don't know. It's strange. Like we grew up playing games in the 90s, you know, and I played games without like knowing English. So for us, it was everything was like we have to sort of figure out everything with trial and error. And I think a lot of people just don't really
have the time or energy to do that.
Yeah,
I get that. I mean, I personally wouldn't really do that either. Probably if I play a new game, I'm like, oh, this doesn't work. Whatever, screw it. I got other things to do. You know?
Yeah. The only thing is that if you're disappointed, in my eyes, and I don't want to insult any of our nice, excellent players, but if you do leave a bad review and get your money back, don't leave a bad review because you just got your money back. Or I can leave a bad review, so that's not a problem. But I mean, as soon as we fix certain things, then that's still on there forever, and
that's true. That's the thing, though. Yeah, the review system. Ranting about reviews. I love that. Actually, I mean, it's good that people will give us reviews, and I think it's fair. And
it's fair.
You know, if you expect something to work and then it doesn't, then hey, that's totally cool. I guess. But it's on us.
That should be what the
bugs in this game. So
that should be what the forums are for, though. I mean, try and get a bug fixed by talking about it in the forum. Don't just like, oh, there's one bug in this game. Here's a review. Fuck you guys. I'm getting a refund. Like,
well, and that's that's the thing. What I would like to see on Steam reviews is that you have to actually have played the game for more than 2 hours. So you don't you can't get a refund. They've got a 2-hour cutoff. If you played it more than 2 hours, you can't get a refund anymore because apparently you liked it enough to not warrant a refund. But it would be fair if you could only post a review after that period as well. So you get reviews that at least people who've played the game a little bit and, at least try to mess around with things. And if they couldn't get it to work, they can just get a refund. That's fine. But, and I think it's, if people refund everything, like the game doesn't sell, then you don't get any reviews, and then you don't get any visibility, and that's totally fine, right? But if you get 1 million reviews of people who've played the game for 5 minutes complaining that it doesn't work, then you still get negative reviews, and it gets out there and lots of visibility, but it doesn't actually mean that the game is better or whatever. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, it's not reflective of the actual gameplay experience, because if it's only a 5-minute review, then there are some games where I've played it and I can't get past the title screen because something is broken.
Right.
There's a button that's not enabled and it should be enabled.
You have to press
it. But other people have been able to play, so I'm wondering what's wrong with my system or something like that. Yeah. I've had that happen.
there's these super quirky things as well. Like even sort of general engine bugs. Like we're using Unity, and it's a great thing, but there are weird hardware issues or other strange bugs, and that's not something we can fix. We can, all we can do is write an angry letter to Unity saying like, "Hey, we've got this problem," and you look at the forums, and it's been like a bug that's been in Unity for 5 years or whatever, and they're not going to fix because it affects like 1% of the user base or less probably. But
and we can't ask the players to upgrade their hardware because because that is where the problem lies or something. Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's weird. Like
it's a difficult
reviews. It's difficult because I do think it's fair that people should be able to give reviews.
Definitely.
That's actually a good thing. And I read them myself when I look for games, but I do sort of filter out like
the hatred.
The hatred. Well, yeah, you sort of get a feeling for it. And I do think a lot of people sort of have that, but then when you see a game get like super positive or super negative reviews, even though it's like a popular game or it's a good game actually, then you're like, okay, maybe this review system is slightly broken.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Anyway. No.
Yeah.
But know that we read all the Steam things and on our Discord as well, and we're still very actively bug fixing as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like because the one that is getting quoted around the office right now is that it's a total cash grab.
What?
Where we.
Yeah, we got some people saying
was someone who cares
like,
so much that he was disappointed, and I totally can't get that. But then he said it was a cash grab. But we worked on it for 3.5 years, so I don't know.
Yeah, we still gotta like make our money back on this.
Yeah.
It's not like we're no, yeah. I mean, it's so financially, it's not really.
How the hell is a working game that how the hell is a working complete game a cash grab? It's not like you did it's not like it's a Unity flip or asset flip or some crap.
Thanks. Yeah.
I
mean, some people are just, you can't please everybody.
I think that is a problem of being a creative and just going out there and trying something new as well. Is people just get let down by a thing they made in their head. I mean, if you look at this game, you see a lot of potential, a lot of stuff that isn't in there. Could be in there, but isn't in there, and then people get let down by that. And I think that some of the Steam reviews reflect that as well. It's not that it's all bad or something, but it's just, I think that is.
It's interesting.
Sometimes you'll find constructive negative feedback,
Mm-hmm.
For sure,
and it allows you to improve. But the majority of the negative feedback tends to be just nah or nope, skip this one, and not anything else. So how can you improve based on that?
True.
You can't.
Yeah.
And you can never ask them to update their review as well either. I mean,
you can, but it tends to be they won't.
No, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, hey, you see Kiranio in the chat. He's like our intern. He's been with us for a year, I think.
Yeah.
That was like, when did he start with us? Like 2 years, 3 years ago. He's done some of the code for things you see in the game.
Roof turrets.
Yeah. Roof turrets. Yeah, he did roof turrets. He did other things as well. He's he's a cool kid. He's cool.
There are turrets in this game?
Really
Ooh.
Yeah, so
yeah.
there's cruise missiles in the game, and they can be targeted by either you being very quick with the mouse and keyboard, or you can buy roof turrets and they can shoot them down.
Oh, I love turrets. I'm always a fan of turrets. Always. So how many ships are in the game? Like how many blueprints are ultimately in the game?
Ooh, I think there's like a lot. I haven't counted them in a while because we've been adding and changing things for a bit. I would have to actually look at.
I think
that
would be an educated guess. That is not the same as counting.
I think it's like, I don't know.
Well, every level ship at least has 3. At least 30, but I think that is very much on the low side.
30, yeah, probably like 50 or so.
Yeah. So 50 different shapes and so then you can
different hull types. And we've got like a few, because a lot of these ships you can just get by sort of boarding and hacking the ship when you kill it, or when it's sort of disabled. But we've got a few that are sort of secret, and you gotta find through either special missions or sort of treasure hunts and stuff like that.
Treasure hunts. There are treasure hunts in the game?
There is a treasure hunt. At least one. There's sort of more, but at least one.
I'm still doing
I just found in my current game, because I started a new one just a few days ago. I found one of the secret ship blueprints already.
Yeah.
Oh. Which one? Where did you find it?
The one on Mardo.
Oh yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. That's
the first one. And
the first one you can find.
Right. Yeah. Well, that is actually, I think, our Discord community says it is also very sad that it's in, because you will never need another ship once you've unlocked it. But I think it's very nice to have that as a kind of an end game. Clearly, the best thing you can get, but you have to stick with that mission to get it all through the game. So
yeah. The one with the ship parts. I mean, the one with the parts.
With the 5 parts. Yeah.
But that's
once you've found it, though, you've earned it. That's the whole point.
Right, you gotta progress through a few missions to actually get all of the components, I think, because you have to get one in. That's this locked room on where's that? On the Strongpoint station, and then there's one.
Yeah, don't spoil everything.
Oh no, okay, sorry. I'm not saying anymore. You have to do something, right?
Yeah, you have to do some things.
So
I think
So I've noticed, like, sometimes you'll destroy a ship and sometimes you'll disable a ship. Is there a way to specifically, like, is it only one or the other, or can you, like, target a ship's, like, room with the engine in it and disable it that way?
It's random, I think.
Oh, it's random?
It depends on each ship how much chance it has.
Oh, okay.
It's generally about 1/3, and I think some of them are slightly more or less chance, but it's...
Some mission specific ships will explode always, for example.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But that is true. But sadly you can't target an engine or have a weapon that disables them.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's what everyone would do all the time, though. So that kind of makes sense.
That would be a bit too much. Maybe.
You'd be broken.
I also noticed you'll get blueprints through side missions as well. Like
you can. Yeah, these bounty missions. Yeah, you can definitely get them, and other missions as well.
Right, and so there seems like there's a lot to do in this game, which is very important. When you give someone kind of an open world like you have with this game, and I like how it's handcrafted. Like, that seems like a rarity these days. Like, everyone wants procedural generated everything, which, sure, we love that, but, it's handcrafted is fine if there's enough variety,
Yeah, that's the thing, of course. If it's like procedural generated stuff, you can get infinite content, but if the content is all sort of similar or generated from a template, then it's not really interesting things.
Like what you said last week in the podcast, like, just give me infinite stars or something. And I like that comment, because it was something that speaks to a lot of space games that get built is with an algorithm, and you spawn a lot of galaxies, and then
there's
that's
not actually
now.
anything
That's playing
there,
and more hours, and that's very important. So for us, we're about getting stories and NPCs and just building a world.
It's interesting. Some of the best space games I've played, like Privateer and this and Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, don't have procedural universes. They're very finite. They're very contained, but they're full of stuff to do. The systems are very busy. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of missions and
hidden stuff to find.
Willing to
take the time to look.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Of course, everybody wants to have a space game that it's a lot of space, but if there's nothing there, then
exactly. Space doesn't necessarily mean empty. Space doesn't.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like, that's one thing I can't stand about Elite. We oh my god, we rant about Elite a lot, I know, but like,
I haven't played it in so long though.
Don't. It's they just added a romper room. Did you hear about that?
No.
They added a kindergarten area, basically. I call it a romper room. It's basically a soul newbie area. just for new pilots. And you slowly fly around that until you get a rating in something, and then you could leave.
Damn.
So
you buy the game for like $60, and then you get stuck in a room and you can't experience any of it until you were let loose by the game or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Which
I should maybe not check out Elite again. I don't know.
Don't. It like they're not going to have a major update until next year, and we don't even know.
The sound design in Elite.
That is the thing is great. It's got some of the best sound design in any game I've ever experienced, and as a space flight simulator, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But as a game,
that's kind of boring.
I mean, if you're fine with making your own goals all the time, then I guess that's okay. But like, if you want something with a little more substance, no.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I have the same thing with. I don't know if you know about Sea of Thieves.
I've heard of Sea of Thieves. Yeah, I've heard it's very elitish.
It's like a space game without space, like. It's ships
you're
and water
expected to
space,
make your own fun in that same way, that you're on a ship together, and you can infinitely do these missions that will spawn a bunch of skeletons, and then you can kill them and get some money, and which is fine in on itself. But it reminded me of Elite in that way. But last week they got like a first proper kind of campaign thing, and then the whole world just feels more vibrant and alive. And I'm not here to plug that in any way, but also if you. No, but it is very fun now because all the things make more sense now. The whole world comes together because there's this storyline running through it, and we hope that the storyline in this game of Landinar is also making the whole world more of a logical place, because everything otherwise would be go here and fight pirates and go there and fight pirates, and why bother or something. Now we're
when you have a more contained and set universe, it makes sense to. Oh, this is why I want to protect that space station. This is why I want to protect that convoy.
That's sort of like,
In theory, you could continue to take bounty missions for dozens of hours and not advance the story, but there's not much point to doing it that way.
Yeah,
you could get a lot of money and maybe afford yourself some of the larger ships.
Oh, yeah.
But besides that...
Yeah. Absolutely. We had some people on the forums actually comment on that, like, oh, this game feels very grindy. You just have to do the same missions all over again. I'm like, what are you doing?
No.
Like, you've got
the mission, the
story. There's a main mission, main quest that
starts out. The mission thing is very clear as to what's a side mission and what's a main mission. You actually have them separated out. So it's like, it's very clear, you guys. You got to do these things up here.
You could. It doesn't mean that you should.
That's right.
I mean, if that more money just from doing the main missions and then doing some of the side missions while you are in between the main missions.
Exactly.
If you're not advancing the plot, you're not actually getting anywhere.
And if like that one main mission is red, that it's a little too hard for you, do some side missions and upgrade, and then go back to it. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to force people to do things in the game either, because but we sort of want to nudge them towards doing certain things, and I don't know, it's the same as in Skyrim or whatever. You can do, like, if you just want to not do anything, and you just go outside and then kill random monsters, then hey, that's
kill
cool.
Some bears.
That's fine. If you wanna,
but if that's all you do, then you'll only be left with iron swords, and you'll only be left with like the barest of equipment. Like, you got to go actually be in the world.
Talk to some guys, and that's actually something we shot ourselves in the foot with this, because if we knew what the game would be earlier, I think we could have gotten a lot more done in that sense.
Yeah, that's
the story that we added is pretty linear in the sense that it has a beginning and ending, but we didn't build it from A to Z. We built it with
we did
C, X, and M, and then outwards. So until the the pieces touched each other, and then it was like, okay, now the story is complete or something. So it was a totally weird series of events like that.
The development has been somewhat chaotic.
Yeah. So because the story has changed in development, so that
it has as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And but yeah, it is linear now, or the story at least is linear. Yeah. And if we knew that earlier, we could have done some things maybe quicker. But hey.
Yeah, that's one of the things you learn, when you're developing games. Because this was our second game. The first game we made was Convoy, which you may know or not. But that was sort of like FTL with like change with FTL with cars. And that was pretty clear what the game was going to be from the start. And we made that in about like a year and a half or something. So that was pretty cool. And then we suddenly had a bit of money, and we were like, oh, hey, let's just continue making games. And so we started making this game, and we didn't really know what exactly we were going to make. And then it changed a few times over the development course. Yeah. And that's sort of how we ended up with this game with a lot of ideas in it. And it's somewhat
megalomania.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat big, this project. It's like the scope is huge, and we're doing sort of what Star Citizen is doing in a way, but I mean, it's not as fancy graphics or whatever. I mean, we don't have a multi-million-dollar budget, and
also no multiplayer.
And we only have 4 people working on this.
Well, you're not doing what Star Citizen has done, because you've actually released a game.
Oh yeah, we started it and released it before Star Citizen finished anything.
But they had more money, though.
But they had a lot more money
and more promises.
We're also sort of in the same. We made similar mistakes as to what Star Citizen did, in that the scope got too big, or it got somewhat unfocused. And
that is on us.
That is on us. We could have created it a bit more tight, maybe, if we sort of knew what we were doing.
No, but that is you want to add this guy that gives you a quest and one. Oh, but then can we talk to ships? And then our program is like, well, not right now, but I can make it. And then 3 weeks down the line, we can talk to the ships. And, oh, nice, awesome. We can talk to ships now. Cool. And now we'll have to, okay, maybe I can trade some shit to this ship. Or stuff, I'm sorry. To the ship. And then, well, not right now, but if I add that, it will probably increase the game experience. So then he'll add that. And half a year later, we have this giant piece of a game that is only being used for some missions, for example. And then that is kind of how we went along with everything. Hey, the YouTube cutting out?
Oh dear.
Oh yeah, we're having.
There's
few dropped frames, stabilizing now. I got to talk to my ISP. I'll call them today.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call them today. Because I shouldn't be getting dropped frames like this. The last time I had a problem like this, they sent someone out to fix it. So maybe that has to happen again. I don't know. I mean, that's a downside to cable internet too. Is it's shared,
Oh really? Yeah.
Shared bandwidth and whatnot. So now that people are waking up, normal people are waking up.
Everybody's checking their Facebook, and then it's
So that might have something to do with it.
That's a thing apparently in the UK where whenever it's like 5 o'clock, they have to sort of ramp up all the power plants because everybody's making a cup of tea and all the kettles are going on at the same time. And there's a huge spike in the power consumption nationwide.
Wow.
I believe it. I believe it. How's the internet
during football matches and whatever?
How is the internet over there in the Netherlands? Is it great?
Well, at home, I don't want to brag, but at home I pay €30 a month for gigabit fiber.
Mother.
Up and down. So that's pretty good.
God.
But
damn
in the office, actually, it's kind of shitty. We have cable internet, like 100 Mbits shared between, I don't know, 20 people.
Yeah.
So it's not really great.
But
we're probably the biggest users of the internet, though, because we're here with, some other people in this building. They're selling clothes online
or photography or stuff like that.
Photography stuff. We're the big, when we're pulling and updated things from the Git server we have, at home or whatever, then it's like, oh yeah, just send over a few hundred gigs. And that takes a while, but it's usually fine.
Yeah, well, it sounds. Yeah, it still sounds better than our situation. I'll tell you.
So you have cable. Is that like the same thing you use for the TV?
Yeah.
Or is it?
Yeah. It's all the same. I guess backbone. I guess.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's like literally the best option I have where I live, and when it works, it's great. You know, it's pretty fast. It's usually pretty stable, but sometimes when I stream, I drop a frame here and there. But interestingly, this stream has been going a lot better than the last couple. So I should call my ISP today.
It's going pretty smooth, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just sort of a general thing in the United States. I believe that you guys have like no choice in internet.
Very little. Very little choice.
Very little. Yeah. Because the ISPs have, you could say it's a monopoly, but it's not really. It's more like they have agreements where they won't interfere with the other ISPs when they have presence in an area. So you have the illusion of choice.
Right. Is that legal though? Because I mean, I guess.
Sadly, it is.
I don't think
it's legal. It's legal, and they have lobbyists that even will petition local governments to not have their own ISPs, so that the local government can't create its own ISP and bypass the corporate one. So, yeah, it's not a great situation for us.
Yeah, that's tricky. And wouldn't 5G networks or whatever help solve that problem? Because that would not really require that much infrastructure, just a giant.
No, but then you have to have China in your backyard.
Yeah, that's true. You have to have China in your backyard. That's not gonna happen. I don't know. They've got problems.
Let's not solve the
well.
internet problems on this podcast.
No.
I wish we could. I wish it was that simple.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So one thing I have struggled with, I don't know if other players have struggled with, so I was hoping you can give me some tips. The combat, I'm not the best at combat with top-down 2D games to begin with, but I have real issues aiming. I found by accident the mouse aiming thing.
Right.
Yeah. Which does help a bit. But then I forget.
In the lower right, there's these controls that enable the player to either mouse aim or.
I didn't know they were controls. I thought they were indicators. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I didn't know. I didn't know I could.
Indicators of the setting you have.
Yeah, I didn't know I could click them.
No, they're not buttons, I believe. Are they buttons?
I don't think they work as buttons.
No, they're just,
I thought they did work as buttons.
If you hover over, then they give a small tooltip about what they do, I believe. And then there's an indicator that says if you press V or if you press B or whatever, then something will happen.
Yeah.
So that is more of an indication guide there.
But if you need help shooting, to make shooting easier, machine guns are good because you can just sort of spray them.
Shoot more.
Yeah, I really like the spray and pray of machine guns. That's what I've been using primarily so far. Yeah.
I think you've got lasers later in the game, and they are.
Ooh.
Yeah, the lasers. You just sort of you can aim the lasers themselves, so they can sort of shoot everywhere, but they don't have a lot of range, but they do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah.
And then there are cruise missiles, which sort of follow your mouse cursor, so you can point them to whatever you want to shoot at. But as cruise missiles can be shot down by other guns.
Yeah.
Or you can just drop mines and hope enemies fly.
Drop more mines. Yeah.
I've been seeing more of that lately with some of the level 2 pirates I've been running into. Is they love to drop mines, which I hate.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to commend you guys on is that sometimes when you have a mission, you can find a non-violent approach to deal with it, which I really liked. Like there was one of the very early missions where this guy's finding his
son or something.
Finding his son. Yeah, finding his son, and he stole a shuttle, and apparently that's a death penalty, which fair.
Yeah.
But you can go find him and tell him, look, eject from the shuttle and scuttle it. I'll just tractor you back to your dad. And I thought that was cool because I'm like, I didn't want to kill this kid. I didn't want to have to kill him. So I really like that. And I think there was a mission I failed in which this guy ejected, and I was supposed to tractor him, but I think I killed him.
Yeah, the second one has the same kind of option. Only it's you have to time it a bit better because he only surrenders when you shot him dead for 30% of his health or something. So then he gives you the option to hail him, and if you kind of glance over that and not pay attention, then you'll kill him and your allies will kill him, and he's proper dead.
Yep.
And then the game goes on. So that is and it isn't really you're not failing the game either. So a lot of players will reload a save game because they feel like it's bad or something, and it is not like a morality system in here that is telling you that oh no, you killed his son, now this dad will never be the same. That is just what the player is feeling. So that is but that is pretty fun. We did want to add that because it just adds to the world as well.
What would be fun is if you killed the son and you told the dad, he'd be like, I'm gonna get you, and then like 20 minutes later, randomly some guy starts shooting you. It's that dad. He's like, I told you I'd find you, you son of a
we could totally do that.
There is someone that is happening like that.
Oh really?
Spoil it, but there is.
Great.
There are some situations where
some people will come and get revenge if you screw them over.
Oh, that's fun. That's a good time.
Yeah, your
I like
choices
that.
do have consequences. There's a later quest I ended up going into, and there was a peaceful option. I took it, and then I ran into that guy later. And because I did not, he said, well, you can let me go, I'll pay you. And I said, no, you keep the money. And because I ran into him later, and he said, well, you let me keep the money, he gave me something in return.
Right. I don't know which question you're talking about. Yeah, and then he joins the military later. That's pretty fun.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. I've not run into that guy.
Because I shoot him dead every time, and I've never met the guy. But I have heard it say that he will give you something.
Who made that mission?
Eric.
Eric.
That is super cool.
Eric.
Yeah, that's a fun thing because we made like everybody on the team has made at least one mission, I think, and some people have made a lot of missions. Like you like Roy's made a lot of missions. I did a few,
big ones,
a few big ones. But we've all done some missions. We've all made some missions, and it's always fun to sort of play each other's missions because you don't know what will happen. It's like, oh hey, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, or
how did you do this? Oh, this is a cool idea. Or that's. And we had some interns with us like last year, basically last 6 months, and they came up with some really cool stuff and things. We've got this mission building tool, and they were doing things where they were like, "Oh, we never intended for that to happen or work, but it does. Okay, that's cool."
Yeah.
And then suddenly you've got like, "Oh yeah, missions like where you talk to somebody and they're like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll come with you," and then they follow you around and stuff like that. And suddenly you have like you're building almost like a party, of ships.
An escort mission or something like
that.
Escort mission, we've never even thought of that because we're all about the shooting.
Yeah, so that's pretty fun actually. And it's
are the side missions based on like a template, or are they all individually? Like, are they all individually written?
They're all unique in that sense, so that we don't duplicate anything. Yeah.
Wow.
So that.
Well, I mean, the side missions in the bounty boards are, those are sort of like we have like 3 or 4 bounty board missions, and they sort of get placed on the map, and they're not really interesting. It's all like defend the sector or whatever, and you just shoot a couple pirates, and that's it. And they, if you get no higher level ones, they get bigger pirates, but it's not really a different mission. But all the sort of side missions you can do, like rescue the sun or whatever you sort of encounter, like do this pirate.
I think that's what I meant. I'm sorry, the bounty missions. That's what I meant. The bounty missions.
No, the bounty missions are pretty much sort of copy paste, sort of simple. Go here, kill this thing.
But they're much more. Right.
Yeah.
But those are meant to basically meant to line your pockets so you can upgrade.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
we built them originally because we went to EGX Rest in London and we wanted to demo the game, but we didn't want. We had a small bit of station, and we wanted to have one place where you can go and experience the full gameplay cycle. So it's get a mission, get a reward, upgrade your ship, and do the thing again.
Yeah.
And that is actually the bounty board rewards were much more interesting earlier because they would give you weapons and templates as well, and now they only give money. But now the game is full enough that you can get all the templates and all the weapons on other different places. So we don't need the bounty board mission to fatten up the game anymore. So I'm glad.
They're sort of still in there, but it's more of a sort of filler thing you can do while you're doing other things, or like, hey, pick up a little bounty mission.
Yeah.
Similar to how and I think actually the Witcher, we sort of look at that, and they have this bounty mission thing where you've got like kill the monster in this cave, and that's sort of how we approached it as well. Like, just sort of kill a thing and get some money for it. And then, of course, The Witcher is like far more advanced than we ever will be. And there you have to sort of read up about this monster in this book, and then put the right oils on your sword, and then you've got the. But for us, I mean, the bounty missions are more like a sort of interesting thing you can do on the side while you're doing something.
Well, you're already out there, yeah.
Well,
like taxi messages.
We do need to start wrapping up, but I just wanted to say, it's. I mean, your game is kind of fascinating with the custom ships and all the missions and stuff. There's just a lot here, everybody. There's a lot. There's kind of something for everybody. I mean, it's very easy. You all know me. I don't like building ships, but you're not really building ships here. You have like a base, and you're just adding stuff to it, and
like
that's
a puzzle.
Yeah, and that's a lot more fun for me. So you could tweak the ship the way you want it. If you want lots of guns, if you want all missiles, you can do that if you want. So for someone who doesn't have the patience to build stuff like me, it's really much more streamlined, which is good. And the combat is fun. There's a little bit of a learning curve to it, but once you, I don't think there's a question. Are there multi-floor ships? I don't think there are. I haven't seen any anyway. But what was that?
No, it's all on one level. Like, you can't go up and down, right?
Yeah, this isn't what was that game? Starship Corporation, where you build multi-level things, which
sounds great, but
it's so finicky.
Yeah.
That game it's great, but it's so freaking finicky. Like, you can be one panel off of something, and your whole ship won't work. It's so it can be so frustrating.
This is something we wanted to give the player because you want to be in the ship. We want to make the player feel like Han Solo or something, like where you're the rogue bounty hunter or something, and that's cool. And we want to give them the ability to customize it and not just buy a ship from a yard or drag something in a slot, which is also great. A lot of games who do that are amazing. But we wanted to let you walk among your own like machines and stuff like that,
which is so cool.
Like, and this is enough. Then this is all you need. Like, just don't do any more, because we've also thought about the idea of making rooms together or all that kind of stuff.
Like, where you could build. We had actually a system where you could build your own ship, like from scratch. You can build your own rooms, but it turned out everybody just sort of went for the biggest box they could.
Yeah,
that's to put
pretty
stuff
much.
in.
Pretty much. So because you have set blueprints, the challenge is getting everything you want where you want it.
Right. Yeah.
True. So like a puzzle game. I think it is more interesting. I think it forces you to make choices as to what you can and can't use, which I think is much more interesting rather than I'm just going to build a big box and put everything in it.
Why choose when you can have?
You've got some ships that are good for one thing or some good for another thing. Like, you've got some ships that have like this really long corridors where you can put in a giant railgun, or you've got ships with like large connecting bits on the side, so you can add a bunch of broadside cannons. And some others are more like, I don't know, better for missiles or machine guns, or some have hard time to actually put a cockpit in because there's only like one or two spaces that actually fits, and that sort of dictates how you build it. But that's sort of a challenge as well. You can do something sort of different.
Well, folks,
or you build the game carrying passengers and
there's passengers in the game too. I forgot about that. There are passengers in the game too.
You can play Space Taxi.
I have not done that yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
it used to be extremely profitable, but we've kind of nerfed that a little bit.
So wait, I saw that you can put passenger seats. But I haven't done it yet. When you get a passenger, do you see them in the seat, like hanging out?
Yeah.
Oh,
When you pick somebody up, like a prisoner or whatever, you can pick up, the people from space. When the kid ejected, you pick him up with a drone. He's in your passenger seat.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
You can kick him out again. And sort of,
I didn't even look.
Yeah.
I didn't even look. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, folks, the game is Landinar Into the Void, and again, it's a lot of things. It's a boarding game, it's a shooting game, it's a quest game, it's a story game. There's just a lot here, and it's really fun. You'll see in the videos. There's a bit of a learning curve, I'll just warn you. But once you get over it, there's quite a bit of. Are there hotels to rent and sleep in? No, I don't think so.
You can get a room eventually.
Yeah, you can?
That is true.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of a mission thing more. A mission thing, you can, once you reach a certain level of money, then be an option to buy a room on the first station.
Oh, so you kind of have a little house of your own.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's kind of neat. I like that. One final question. Are there any more ships or weapons coming in the future? Maybe DLC?
We'd love to be able to do that, but first we have to focus on getting it bug-free. Because
there's still a bunch of
there's a lot of
bugs we
people
need to
complaining, and they're not wrong, so let's get that out of the way first.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. I really hope the game is doing well. It is a really good game, y'all. You definitely should check it out. It definitely mixes things. It definitely has that freelancer vibe, which is great. But you can walk around in your ships and everything as well, which is also great. So definitely check it out. Again, it's called Landinar Into the Void. It is at a pretty competitive price point overall, and it is a lot of fun. So just before we wrap up, just a couple of programming notes. Thursday, we are going to be playing Pulsar Lost Colony. Hopefully, we're going to have a full crew by then. We almost have a full crew. We just need 2 more people. So hopefully, we'll have a full crew for Thursday. And so that's going to be Thursday. And then Friday, remember last Friday I did a charity stream? I'm doing another one this Friday. Last week I played a game I like. So this week I'm playing a game I hate for your entertainment. I'm going to be playing 1997's Darklight Conflict from EA and Rage, which is a terrible game. It is an awful, awful game. But I'm going to be playing it for your enjoyment. Not mine, yours. So stop by the stream and donate some money to able gamers so disabled gamers can play the games that we pretty much take for granted. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy bug fixing day to talk to us about Landinar. It is a great game. Yeah. I'm really happy it got out of early access. I'm glad you're getting positive feedback from it and finding bugs and fixing it. And I really hope that you get to a point where you can add more to it. Because it is really great, and I definitely want to play more for it. Play more of it. Excuse me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's our pleasure too. And by the way, next week, folks, for the podcast, I'm trying to line up a guest. But they haven't confirmed yet, so I don't know one way or another what we're going to be doing. But if they confirm, we are going to have a guest next week. But they haven't yet, so hopefully we'll have a guest. But if not, we'll do another topic show. So thank you, everyone, for watching and for listening, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day or night, wherever you are, folks.